Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of It's Bigger Than Business podcast. I'm excited to welcome this entrepreneur. I recently met him in Miami. George, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How you doing, Manny?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you. And how do you say your last name for everyone? Because I didn't want to mess it up.
Duplessy.
George Duplessy. Awesome. So tell the folks, the audience, a little bit about yourself. I know everyone hears me every week, so they're probably tired of my voice.
Fair enough. So yeah, my name is George. I grew up in Haiti. Spent the first 17 years of my life there. Learned to code while I was there. My parents just had a random coding book. It was Pascal. So got bored one day, started on that, and been coding for a long time after that. Came here for school after 2010. Came here after the earthquake. Went to University of Miami for school, studied computer science, and my first real job, I want to say, was I was working for this company doing disaster relief, and but on a software level, in terms of we would build like applications to go out there and track volunteers, do damage assessment, really work with FEMA and things like that to help them. But we'd actually be on the ground with them. So if you think about it, like the last one I really did before I started the startup was the Bahamas when the hurricane hit them. I was out there handing out supplies, things like that. So that's my general background. And today I'm working on Virtual Badge, which is more on the safety construction tech side of things, where we're building a digital identity platform for safety. So keep track of worker hours, keep track of their credentials, where they are on their job site, things like that, just to generally keep people safe while they're working.
Awesome. That's great, man. And I didn't know anything about the disaster relief side as well, too. So I appreciate everything you did there. So tell me a little bit about that transition. From doing the disaster relief and then starting to the startup. What was that like?
Kind of weird going from your paycheck coming from somebody else, so depending on yourself for a paycheck is kind of very weird. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this can agree. It's a very different experience. But basically, my co-founder and I, we were working there, and we both were there for a very long time, honestly. Like I started working there when I was still in college, and
Uh,
yeah, it was one of my first real jobs. Before that, I did freelance and things like that. And honestly, going from knowing that, hey, every, so often I'm getting a paycheck that's guaranteed by somebody else, and then to now I'm like, oh, I've got to raise my own money. I've got to find my own sales every single day, do those things. It's a very different mindset and skills required there.
yeah. So where does the consensus of the idea for virtual badge come from?
It comes from the disaster relief background, so it's the same type of idea, right? You have a mobile app that you can have people have on their own phones so that they can report what they see. They can keep track of their status as a volunteer, things like that. The difference is now it's more about workers. It's about keeping them safe on a project site, keeping them safe where they're working, and not exactly having to deal with some random individual you've never met who tells you he's an EMT but doesn't even know how to, I don't even know, like do a Heimlich maneuver. Like we've seen that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's the difference of who we're dealing with. Like on one end, we dealt primarily with government, and now we're dealing primarily with private sector.
Got it. That's awesome. So I think we have a interesting story. You know how we even first got introduced to one another. Just for everyone kind of who's new to it. I recently relocated to Miami from Columbus, Ohio, after being there for 20 odd years. And obviously the boom in Miami with tech, just being very crypto friendly, and then also just being very beautiful, looking at water. I think there are many reasons to come there. And then, obviously, the income or the rent and stuff like that is rising as well, which is some of the things to kind of be mindful of. But one of the first events I went to was a pitch competition where Paul Judge was giving out $100,000, and you were one of the finalists. So tell the folks about that process, how long going through it. I think there are a few misconceptions about some of these pitch competitions. I had, as far as equity, or is it a grant? And George company was actually a winner, and they actually gave out 200,000 that night. So what was that like, going through that whole process? And yeah, what's it been like?
It was interesting. So the application started maybe a month or so before the actual pitch competition. I met Tammy McQueen on Twitter, and she was looking for startups in Miami, and I randomly hit her up, and I was like, "Hey, we're a startup," and we get connected there. And then she told me to apply. We did that. We got selected. Went to the semifinals, and semifinals was more of a private environment where we were meeting with a bunch of mentors. They were giving us advice, which was great in itself because it was helping us. And then after that, we ended up being a finalist, which was interesting. And to answer the question, this specific competition was equity. I know some of them are grants, but this specific one was equity, and they gave out two companies $120,000 each. And honestly, it was until I got on the stage, because this was in person. That was one of the first in-person events I'd done because COVID and all that. And before getting on the stage, it was absolutely terrifying because you could hear the people. There was 500 some people there, and then I didn't even realize that it was being streamed online as well to another 500 or so people. So absolutely terrifying until you get to the stage, but it was a good experience. And shout out to Panoramic, Paul Judge, and the other judges up there that were part of the whole thing.
Yeah, it was. I've been at a few, pitch competitions. That was the most electric. It was like a nightclub. It was in a nightclub. So
Yeah, literally.
like literally in the nightclub. The environment, everyone had, music that they came out to. It was definitely a vibe.
One thing I still find funny though is you and I met the night before, and we spoke for like maybe 5 minutes before you were like, "Nah, you got this. You're gonna win." It's like, "Are you sure?" And then next day it's like, "Oh, yeah, there it is."
Yeah, no, for everyone, I saw, yeah, we met. Miami has a happy hour every other week, and probably get 200 people at this tech meetup. And I saw George there, and I already had looked at the startups, and your startup just to me stood out. So yeah, I went right up to you and told you that, and that's awesome, man. That it was just awesome to see that in person and live. And so what has it been like? And I guess for the folks who kind of tuning in, who's your ideal person that you're helping with Virtual Badge?
So a big portion of the people we work with are construction folks. So general contractors, work with them to keep track of their workers, contractors, and all that. But we also have found that Virtual Badge has application in a lot of other industries. For example, during Art Basel last year, we worked with one of the largest installations to keep their workers safe, keep track of COVID statuses, making sure they could report, keep not report, but more talk with vendors that needed, new installations, new power outlets, things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot more industries we're working with now. So thinking of healthcare, vendor management, contractor management, and those kind of industries. So honestly, anybody that has a large fleet of human beings they have to manage, we can typically work with them.
That's great. That's great. So have you lived in Miami your whole, are you born and raised, or, I mean, well, obviously you said you're born in Haiti, but have you, you went to U of M, have you relocated anywhere else outside of Miami, or?
So when I first came here, I was in Boca, which is about 60 something miles from Miami. I stayed
Mhm.
there for a couple years, then went down to Miami. So I've been down here for almost maybe 9 years now. So I'm almost an OG at this point.
Yeah, so why don't you tell everyone what has it been like? Again, I'm a novice, and I'm that statistic of people relocating here. For me, it's just awesome taking in the culture and just learning. So what has it been like from your perspective as a resident and seeing this
Yeah.
boom?
No, I mean, so the tech culture, it's a misnomer that it's new here. Like a lot of people will tell you, oh, it's brand new. No, it was always here. It has grown tremendously. I'll give you that. It is absolutely massive now to compare to when I was still in college and whatnot. But you still had Refresh Miami, you still had the lab at UM, things like that, helping young entrepreneurs. It has grown a ton where I'm hearing more college students now are staying here instead of immediately shipping out to New York, California, and Chicago. So that's been interesting. But in terms of new people, you're talking about the culture, and that's one thing I'm personally worried about is how do we balance out the new people while still helping the local population that's grown up here, who went to college here, to keep them in the same balance. Because like you said, like the rent is absolutely crazy. Real estate makes no sense anymore right now. So how do we manage to bring in this new tech collective, bring in this new fresh crop of people and new money and all that, while still pulling up the entire community at once? That's just one thing. I don't have a solution for it. It's just one thing that's always been on my mind.
Yeah, no, I could definitely understand that, and yeah, rent is, I'm near the Edgewater area, and it is definitely it's up there, so so to give people I guess, because how much was rent, I guess, like how much has it increased, like you
I
know
think the latest report was like 50% increase.
wow, in
So
like a
if you're
9-year period, or what do you think,
in the what?
like in from your perspective over the last 9 years, because I know a lot of
No,
these, yeah.
it's definitely more so over the last. So the rate I saw was from 2020 to like 3 months ago, it raised by 50%. So if you're paying $1,000 a month, you're basically paying $1,500 a month now. So that's basically, and that's counting all over the board. So I'm imagining if you're living in Brickell, it's a lot more than if you're living, I know somewhere else. If you're like in Kendall or something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely something to watch out for. So I know we're kind of wrapping up to it. What else? Any interest? Sometimes Danny and I, we talk about basketball. We're big NBA fans. Even UFC as well. What do you do when you're not building virtual badge and helping out the world? In various activities.
I never got into basketball. It never stuck to me, but I'm a big fan of football. I got interested in it when I was in college. Started watching college football, and then I started watching NFL. So uh, right now, there's not much going on in terms of that. But I
Yeah,
also like golfing, which Miami is great because you can pretty much play golf all year round because of our weather. So those kind of things I like doing.
nice. You go golfing?
Yeah, not a great one, but I like. I mean, you get to spend 4 hours out there. I mean, it's a good time.
Yeah, we might have to go golfing one day. I'm not a
Let's
great
do it.
golfer as well. I'm still working on my swing, but I do now. I've been enjoying it more and more and more the older I've got. So
Yeah.
are you a Miami Dolphins fan, or like do you got a team, or what's your?
Now I'm New England Patriots.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, no, so we've had some very good years.
Weird story there, but when I was a kid, my uncle used to live in Boston, so I spent a lot of summers there. And for the first NFL game I watched, it was New England versus I don't even remember what team. So I was just, all right, I'll go for Boston.
Yeah, yeah, I got a very good friend in the office that's also a Patriots fan. I might have to connect you guys together. He grew up in Boston too.
Nice,
Also Haitian as well. Yeah, same.
nice.
Well, George, I really appreciate you hopping on the podcast. What's the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
Guess you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very easy to find. My name is fairly unique. On Twitter at G Duplessy, same spelling. Those are probably the best two ways. And you can find my email and everything from there.
Appreciate you. Well, founder of Virtual, sorry, co-founder or
Co-founder.
co-founder of Virtual Badge. Appreciate you joining on the podcast, George. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a great day.
Sounds good. Thank you.